There's a school where the kids come in and the teacher hugs them.
This entire schooling philosophy or the schooling method, Waldorf education method, is based on something called anthroposophy, the philosophy of anthroposophy. Anthropos is the human being and Sophia, wisdom. So the wisdom of the human being.
Steiner said there are 3 rules of teaching in a school. So the teacher has to teach with love, that's the first rule. Second rule is teach with more love. The third rule is teach with even more love. And Steiner has given certain exercises where you can develop to fill your heart with love.
And the development of moral values happens through that. Through the fact that you have to keep doing something. I mean, everything that human beings have created is through the hand, whether it is art or music or technology or whatever else. It all comes from here. As I told you before, the Steiner said this. If you taught the children to do namaskar, he will become capable of blessing.
Wow. To open up to an avenue like this, which will, I think it's the future of education. This is the future of education. What you are doing is amazing. But there are multiple misconceptions about alternative education and how it can be resolved. What do you all feel about it? Who's there? Namaskaram. Today we have 2 beautiful individuals because it reminded me say about when YouTube started, there was this one very beautiful video which showed this school where the kids come in and the teacher hugs them, and that stayed in my mind. So here we have a schooling which at this moment they call it alternative education, and here we have Seshadri sir and Bindu ma'am who run a wonderful school called Inodai. So I like to hear a little bit about your schooling system, sir and ma'am.
Inodai started in 2011. But we've been, both of us have been in this alternative education scene right from, let me say, 1997. Mm-hmm. The understanding of what could be an alternative education. And also it gave us this impulse to wonder, what is this alternative that you are looking at? What is troubling us with the mainstream education itself? What is it that we want new, and where will we get it? So the approach was through that. Can we find people who are doing the same thing, the mainstream thing, which is so widespread? Can we find somebody who's doing this differently? And why did that question come up? For me personally, the realization was that what the school education, the importance of school education has not been realized. Everyone seems to think that what you need to do as a career, as some opportunity to be economically well off, can come only in a college or elsewhere. The school education was just a step, Niche ka steps, if you have crossed it, then you don't have to look at it again. But that concept is wrong. Whatever you do later on in life, the basis is that. Without the first 5 steps, 10 steps, you can't reach the 11th step. So there has to be something done about this. So there was a disquiet in the heart. This system which I have gone through is the same thing which is available for my children. And I know at this level that this has not really helped me. So there has to be something better than this, because there is a lot of things that the child in the soul needs. That was that's how I started off, by looking at who can provide this without really having an answer directly. I only had questions, looking for answers.
So you all are founders in that. So Waldorf philosophy is what you start. Bindu ma'am, tell me a little more about it.
Yeah, first, like how I got into it, because I was a lecturer in a college, and the people who came, students who came, they had low self-esteem, they didn't know what to do in life and all that. So then I started researching, like what Shashadi said, and found that what is missing is it is in the school level. And that's where we started doing some workshops for college students. But then when my son was born, then where to put him? So that's what I realized, that there's something at the school level that needs to change. That's the way I came into it.
What was that moment which you left you started off this? There might be a particular what you say, no? There might be a certain thing which happened, a certain shift which happened. There might be one particular point. So what was that?
See, for me, it was more like a destiny. I had been searching for what other schooling can be done, and especially when my child was born, it was even more stronger. Previously, it was for other people's children. Then, in the newspaper, I saw a small ad saying alternative education.
Okay.
And then I went, and that's where Seshadri and the others were conducting a small session. And I said, yeah, this is a very beautiful concept. A lady from Holland had come and given the workshop. And then I said, okay, where is the school? Then there's no school. And that's when I joined this group, and then we started searching, and that's where we started our first school in a bungalow in Kalina.
So, if I look back in our ancient method, there used to be a tree. Always the pictures used to show a tree, and there's a guru sitting there and teaching. So when you say you started, it was just a small place. Isn't that something which we can kind of equate to?
Yes, we can connect our ancient education with the Waldorf education very much, because the methods that were used to impart knowledge to the children in that younger age are similar to what we in Waldorf school we do. You know, recitation, more of orality. And Steiner has said more orality in the younger years will make them understand literature and other things better in the higher classes. So that resonated. Another thing was drama. Everything was brought in to the children through drama, and that's a very important part in our school. Where
what are the principles of Waldorf education? In that?
So, and she was talking about it, she's one step ahead. So the thing is, this entire schooling philosophy or the schooling method, Waldorf education method, is based on something called anthroposophy, a philosophy of anthroposophy. Anthropos is the human being, and Sophia, wisdom. So the wisdom of the human being. It started off from that level and then percolated down, and Dr. Rudolf Steiner, who proposed or who is the proponent of anthroposophy, he said he looked at how does a human being develop wisdom. What is different between a human being and any other being, an animal being, for example? Where is this takeoff happen? How are we humans? वहाँ से he started off with that, and with a clear understanding that, as I said before, school is so important. The skills and the capacities that you give for the human being to become a human being, not just look like a human being, but actually become a human being. The basis is laid at a very young age. The development of the child itself, if you follow it to a certain extent, follows what the animals develop. An infant is more like an animal. But very quickly becomes the human being the minute he starts standing up on his feet. The animals don't stand up on their feet. They already they are on their force. The human beings are on their force for a short while, and then they stand up. The minute they stand up, something changes. So, and you have to nurture that physicality which happens in the human being as an ability to stand on his feet. Something has changed. So the one has to nurture it and support it. It's like supporting a tree, a plant with things, so that it can really grow. If you just let it be, it'll crawl everywhere. So that's the importance of school education. And this philosophy also is based so much on what Dr. Steiner had picked up from the Eastern societies, especially from India. The Gurukul system, the Guru Shishya Parampara, where you talked about the tree and the gurus sitting there. In our case, there were these two lovely Parsi ladies who through whom we got exposed to this philosophy for the first time. And she was so passionate about that philosophy, and we really found a calling there. Till that time, at least me and the group of us who were looking, we were looking for alternative schools, setups, already. She was the one who put the seed in us. You start. Because this system is not applicable everywhere else. Whatever else is happening as an alternative education seems to be growing up on the mainstream. Some aspects of this and that has been taken. But this one is separate and special. That is when we could, I and my wife especially, we could join another setup in Andheri in the west of Mumbai, where they were on the verge of starting a school. Then we said, we didn't even think about it. So let us start a school. That's how we started it. And these two people were the gurus sitting under the tree of knowledge and information. And they gave us the training for the first time. This happened in 1997. We had to wait for 3 more years before the first Waldorf school in Mumbai started in the year 2000. We're all part of that. Again, as Bindu would keep saying, the impulse has come from the very strong need that we felt that we need something better, something different and better for our own children. My older child was already too late for that. But I still sent her to another place for alternative education. And the younger one was getting ready. So with that, we started off this.
So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, because this entire philosophy and that is, I think it gives the child the maximum potential to be there. Because I think your way of teaching is about skill development and complete overall development, right, ma'am?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little more on that, how it works?
Bottom line of this is that it nourishes the head, heart and hands.
Head, heart and
hands, but we say limbs because it's also the feet, the legs. So that is the basic thing. So we have in the curriculum things that will nourish these 3 aspects. And it is not that you nourish one and you nourish the second. All are happening together. In the kindergarten, also there is a rhythm and a structure in a way that the child very naturally unfolds the inner being. Like, Steiner said, what is the true task of education? The true task of education is to let the core of the being unfold itself.
Okay.
And he said, like, you can compare the human being to a plant, where when you put a seed, you don't see that now the sprout, it has sprouted, now let us pull it up. What we do is just nourish it, and it grows by itself, and it comes to whatever flower and fruits it has to. So unfortunately, we are not so clairvoyant to see what seed is within a child. If we are able to see that, then we give accordingly. So all the children are provided with similar things, but then each child picks up what the child has come here to unfold. So teachers and parents and everybody around need to develop a sense of patience, like how we do for the plants. So that is the basic thing that we talk about, and the whole world of curriculum is weaved around this aspect of developing the head, heart and hand.
So I see the teachers being very loving.
Yeah.
The entire process is different. I mean, where I think no child is made to feel different, because I think everybody learns in their own pace. So how do you all inculcate this into the teachers? How do you all kind of, what is the methodology you all follow?
See, one of the abiding things, right from the beginning, it's there, that the teachers have to be prepared, as you rightly say. We have a training programs which a whole year program, an 8 months program, where we tell people who want to be teachers in the school about what this philosophy is about, and prepare them for it, so that they have a very clear idea about it. There could be that a lot of baggage that they are carrying as something that is what they have learned about child development will have to be put aside. Some new things have to be learned. Okay, so it's very difficult sometimes to get this idea through to people as teachers, or sometimes for us also it becomes, because habitually we look at the young child in a different way.
Yes.
The human being is there. You see the physical body, but behind the physical body, an esoteric aspect, an invisible aspect is there, which is the child's soul and his ability to think. Those two things, just like we might be very clear about what is it required to nurture the physical body.
Okay.
We might think, by aaj ki tarikh mein usme bhi gadbad hai. You might think that this is the right food that the child has to have, and this is the thing, and then you can start from a young age from breastfeeding up to every stage has different types of foods which we give the child very on a stage-wise basis. Like that, physical body nourishment, we may have quite a bit of information, but what is the child desiring in his soul? What makes him joyful? What makes him angry? What gives him strength to work in a particular way? How do you nurture his capacity to think differently from being an animal? Again, I'll come back to the same point. Till a certain extent, even a human being is very instinctive, just like an animal is. if किसी जानवर को if he is feeling hungry, he would immediately get up. Even a pet in your own home, if he feels hungry, he will immediately get up and start looking for food.
Right.
Since he knows that he cannot hunt, he will look at you and say, give me food.
Right.
As soon as he feels hungry. A child is like that. But later on, there are many things which happen as an instinctive thing which you can hold back and wait. That's a capacity. So in that, what is required in the soul has to be nurtured also along with what is required in the physical. And then stage by stage, first the physical nourishment, then the soul nourishment, and finally at a later stage, things which have to come in the environment to nurture his capacity to think differently from being an animal as a human being. Things have to come in at school. So the whole curriculum is built in that way. We like in a regular education, you have these 3 R's, we know it: reading, writing, arithmetic. So the entire focus is on reading, writing, arithmetic. Entire focus, you can say, in the mainstream school. We also have the 3 R's in Waldorf education. But it is reverence, repetition, and rhythm.
Wow. That's
These
so
3
good.
things are carried forward so diligently with a full understanding of what it means. The child is imitative in the first few years.
Okay.
Then the child has to be inspired. If a child is imitative, the environment has to be worthy of imitation. Whatever is there, worthy or worthless, the child is going to imitate.
Okay.
तो मैं उसको बोलता हूँ कुत्ते की दुम.
क्या बोलते हैं?
कुत्ते की दुम.
अच्छा.
वो दुम doesn't think separately. कुत्ता जहाँ जाता है
दुम भी
पीछे जाता है. So the whole child, the young child, is part of the environment. Anything which happens shocking in the environment will shock him. Anything which is very joyful in the environment, he'll be joyful. Environment के साथ बहुत strongly जुड़ा हुआ रहता है छोटा बच्चा. Later on, he looks for things which can inspire him. Inspiration, imitation, inspiration. Inspiration के साथ साथ there is this capacity called imagination.
Right.
So that imagination again is internal. Individually, every child behaves differently in his or her imagination. That has to be nurtured. That has to be looked at. What is this child imagining? What is that child imagining? And the curriculum has to provide for both. You can't have a standard thing कि भाई सबको एक ही चीज. There's a word for it in English. No, one for all or whatever. So that doesn't happen that way. So even if that's why our class strength is not more than 25 children.
Right.
And we have 2 teachers in every class. We all watch what is required from each. Curriculum is built already, all these things in. Then after this stage of imitation, imagination and inspiration comes the 3rd stage, which nurtures the intuition, developing intuition of the child. The minute you say intuition, it goes beyond the instinct of an animal. Intuition is totally the realm of the human being. And that state comes, the child knows things intuitively, knowledge out of intuition, not out of learning. So usko nurture karna padta hai. That has to be, then the curriculum provides for it. From the time of puberty, we work on the intuitive ability of the child without dispensing with the other things. So the imitative capacity has metamorphosed. And in that process, the metamorphosis is a process of the soul in which the education has to work. That is what the education is supposed to be, school education. And the curriculum is built so beautifully to do these things.
Steiner said there are 3 rules
of
teaching in the school. So the teacher has to teach with love. That's the first rule. Second rule is teach with more love. Third rule is teach with even more love. And Steiner has given certain exercises where you can develop to fill your heart with love. So the teachers, it's not that we cannot say all the teachers are already there, but it's an effort, striving, which goes on as they are teaching year after year for 7-8 years. And then in the first teacher training, the teacher asked Rudolf Steiner, from which book do we teach? Where is the textbook from where we teach? So he says, the book is right in front of you. You read the children and you teach.
Wow.
That was
so
the
amazing.
Most beautiful thing I heard.
So you all don't have a particular book for a subject?
Yeah, we don't bring a textbook to the children. The teacher will read from many books.
Okay.
But then they come to the class with this love and what the children need at that point of time. So the training is all in that.
So can you elaborate on the hands-on learning methods which are like developing the skill sets and all? What are the methods which are used? I know one is you'll teach them like wood carving and things like that in different, I think that as per class what you'll do, right?
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on it?
Yeah, if we talk about it's character building.
Okay.
So an adult has to be moralistic. So Steiner said that if the children do handwork from the lower years, they will become moral as adults.
Okay.
The example is like, so you have painting, which is wet on wet. So if there is a mistake, you can easily change. Okay, that's one. Then you have knitting or crochet. And if they make one wrong line, the teacher will ask them to remove all and correct it.
Redo.
Then in class 5 upwards, we have woodwork. So in one wrong stroke, like we said, you will not get another piece. So you have to be so careful with your hands. That, and then of course later on, if we have space in Mumbai, we'll have stonework and metalwork and all that. So when you're doing things with your hands, you will not do anything wrong with your hands. So you become moral. Okay. That is one aspect what Steiner has spoken about.
Morality is not to be taught.
We don't have, what do you call them, moral lesson classes?
We have moral classes.
It's not an idea that one has to work with, or it's not something which you can exhort in a child. Be honest, jhoot mat bolo, this thing, that thing. It doesn't come like that. You need to work with the hands. Just to continue with what you were saying, I already said the thing about how even the human infant is like an animal. If you look at it, the animals with 4 limbs, they use the 4 limbs for locomotion, to move from place to place.
Right.
Sometimes even the face becomes part of that. Okay, so they don't reach out and all that. They use their mouth and maybe the 4 legs. Still, they are called legs. But in the human being, when it becomes vertical, Steiner was so clear about this, so beautifully he has said this. When he becomes vertical like this, when the child no longer needs to crawl or discovers that he doesn't have to crawl all the time, he can stand up on his legs and that will carry him where he wants to go. He can reach out with his arms and hands of many things. And Steiner says very special things about the arm and the hands especially. They are completely different from an animal. How is it so? It's only in the human being that from the embryonic stage, the limbs, they just grow. They don't change. Whereas in an animal, when the animal also in an embryonic stage has limb, fingers and stuff just like humans have. But before the birth takes place, they start becoming specialized. Bird species है तो एक particular way में these things develop. If it's a tiger, it develops in a different way. If it's an elephant, it develops in a different way. But in the human being, what is in the embryo? It just grows bigger. No change. So from that point of view, Steiner said our arms and hands are free. This is what gives the human being freedom. You can either say namaste with this. You can caress and comfort a person. You can give him a slap. You can show aggression. You can show reverence. You can do artistic work. You can, as Bindu said just now, the morality of being something which is true and enjoying that path, you do with your hands. What the human being can do with his hands, no other being can do. And if you're not nurturing this at school, this is simply an appendage, simply there. Might as well use it for locomotion as the other animals do. They can't do it. You have freedom to do so many things with your hands. So why not nurture it from the young age? The child is ready for it. And the development of moral values happens through that. Through the fact that you have to keep doing something. I mean, everything that human beings have created is through their hands. Whether it is art or music or technology or whatever else. It all come from here. There's a direct connection between these fine motor skills and the way your brain develops.
So I've seen the kids in your school who are very different. I mean, they change. They look like personalities, and each one, I would call them individuals. Why? For the reason is because the word individual, which I know, from my guru, it says that you're indivisible.
Mm.
You're
Yeah.
one person. There can't be anybody. You can't be divided with another person. And that I've seen in the kids. And when you spoke about morality, which we need in this time so much because the way the corruption goes and all that, morality, if you're bringing it with very simple methods, is so beautiful. So this kind of schooling needs to be more. You all need to make it bigger and better. And you all have been pioneers in this field. So what I'll ask is, you told me about this. So what are the unique features when it comes to higher education, when the child goes to a 7th, 8th standard? How does it work there?
Yeah, so as I said before, again, by the time the child crosses puberty, there's a very special characteristic. It even kind of has an echo in what we call the Renaissance, which happened as a cultural movement in the world itself. Humanity's consciousness changed. So this happens in puberty. The children have developed a lot of things in the physical realm, in their soul realm. Now they are entering the thinking realm. So something is required in that particular area which will nurture the thinking. Now when I say thinking, at a very, in a way, beginning stage itself, you can say, the understanding of cause and effect happens for the first time.
Okay.
Before that, the children are not really clear about if I do something, this will be the consequence. Even if the adult world around them keeps telling them, कि ये करोगे तो ये consequence है. In a physical realm, they are aware of it. They know that if they put their finger into fire, it will burn. They won't do that. That even the animals do. That is instinctive. But beyond instinctive, in an intuitive way, कि भाई, this is the cause for something which will happen in the future. Okay, that is the first step. And the second step is, this is the cause of something which will happen in the future, and that will be the cause for something else which will happen even beyond future. So you need to know this right now. So one of the things which permits this thing to happen is sciences. So in one way, say upper classes, from 6 and 7 onwards, science is taken very seriously in the school.
Okay.
Formal education in sciences, formal, like subjects, physics, chemistry, all that starts in right earnest in class 6 and 7 upwards. It's not that sciences are not there beforehand, because the basis for sciences is observation.
So you have already created that atmosphere for it.
Exactly. The basis for observation is laid down in kindergarten itself. We have something called, like this, we have something called a corner,
in the class.
Every class has it.
Okay.
Where things are collected by the children whenever they go into the garden or whenever the children go outside. They collect it for the class. They keep it there. And it is their task to collect things, which means already they are being encouraged to keep looking for things. They will collect things which you as adults will just step over it. You don't even know it exists. They will bring it as treasures for that. So they keep it over there. So observations are shuru hoke, then from there we develop into developing why is this there? What is, if this happens, then that will happen. That kind of a thing.
The cause and effect.
Yes. Upper classes in every subject, it's not just sciences. Sciences are more amenable to this, to bring in. But whether it is history or language or anything, the same concept is there. And then, even in the upper classes, then the idea is given, what would you change in this? As a retrospective thing. This has happened, for example, history. Kuch hua hai dunya mein, we studied this has happened. Suppose you were there at that time, and what would you change? You have a modern thinking. What will that person think? Don't interfere with that thinking. This time pe kya tha? What would you change so that the result could have been different? Now that you've thought about this, what will you do today to change certain things in your own environment? Do you have the capacity even to think this? You may not have the capacity to do anything physically. But what can you do? Start at home. Charity beginning at home.
Right.
The Gandhiji say that, right? If you want to change in the world, change yourself first.
True.
That's the first thing that one can do. Instead of simply waiting for somebody else to say something to you, and then basing everything on what the world is telling you and then doing it, can you think individually? You just mentioned it. Indivisible individuality. So everything that is being given, everything, I'm underlining the curriculum, is towards nurturing the individuality of the child. It's a task for the teacher. 25, 30 individuals in class. And the teacher herself or himself is an individual. So through this synergy of the individual, something comes up beautiful. So when the children step out of the school, they're special.
I know their personalities.
Talking about this individuality, when in grade 1, when they do maths, so we start with 1. It's a 2-day process. So we don't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We start with 1. And then the teacher will talk about what is 1. When we ask the adults what is 1, they'll say it's a unit or it's a number or whatever. But for the children in grade 1, that is, okay, you are in a bubble and you're all by yourself. You're 1. So you can do whatever you like and all that in that bubble. And then as a class, we are 1. As a school, we are 1. So that oneness, they get that self-esteem that I'm 1. There could be so many people in the world with my name, but I'm the only one. Even till today, my son says, there could be many mothers in the world, but nobody like me. So when they get that idea in grade 1 itself, then they feel, yes, I'm an individual. I can do what I'm meant to do. It also opens up a kind of a thing where you can lead them to do what they have come here for, except the parents not interfering in their journey.
So I think a person comes to full life from one is the schooling, the parenting, and the friends, and the society on the whole.
Yeah.
So I'll come to this point of where you spoke about the higher classes also. There is an admission process which I see in ACU. You ask the child to draw, which I found it very beautiful. I mean, many schools won't ask, why would they ask somebody to just draw? What is behind it?
There are many children who come in grade 2, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 or something. And the parents say, my child is very intelligent in this, that and the subjects. But we ask them to draw because drawings can be interpreted.
Okay.
And what they do, where they draw the sun is also important.
Okay.
Or what is happening in the soul is projected in the drawing. And we see children coming from other schools, they have a big head. Okay. And the body is like a stick.
Okay.
Hands. Sometimes the hands are so small. So, this whole making children draw is to give us an idea where the nourishment more is needed.
Okay.
Where more nourishment is needed. So that is the whole purpose of this drawing, to understand the inner child or to
and there are typical elements that we say.
Yeah.
We say you draw a sun, you draw a house, you draw yourself. You draw a river. There are 5 or 6 elements which have to be drawn.
We can also know how secure the child is inside. Seeing the drawing, where does he place himself in this whole drawing? That gives us an inkling whether the child is, suppose it's a grade 1 child, where he's ready to go into grade 1 or he has to spend 1 more year in kindergarten. So drawings are very important.
And sometimes you even get the idea. You ask the parents and shock them by asking them, is this child biological or is he or she adopted? From the drawings. You can go to that extent. And they're shocked because they never said that this child is adopted. Even though that information should be shared.
You all have gone through this training to interpret this.
Yes.
It's wonderful. I think each teacher also gets to learn these methods.
We teach the teachers also how to interpret the drawings.
And more than anything else, it's not an academic exercise to say that, no, sorry, you can't be in the school. Because for us to know in which way are we going to be nurturing the child.
Right.
We believe that every child has come to us because there is a contract between the teacher of that class and the child himself or her. So we make every effort to see whether the child can integrate in the school. The only thing which can probably make a decision in a different way is that certain children come with such strong characteristics of one-sidedness, and then we feel as responsible administrators and school running authorities, we don't have the resources to nurture this child. This child is better off in another environment where those tools are available. We are still in the process of developing everything. I mean, inclusivity how much inclusiveness can you bring in is a subjective thing. We might feel that we are 40% inclusive, but there are children who demand 100% inclusivity. You need to deal with them in a totally individual way. like severely autistic children. We would love to have them with us because there is an entire philosophy on why are children autistic. That's a topic for another
That's a
day.
different topic.
Okay, so it's not for now. But it's very painful for us to actually tell a child or the parent, look, I think you should look for some other setup which will give you these things. This is what we see. It's not about anything else. These things. So and all of that is visible through this one exercise of drawings. She talked about the big head and that we find very commonly nowadays.
Very commonly.
Okay. Specifically when they're coming from a different school.
Only head is being nurtured.
Which means that the head is being nurtured, and that is the one which is being filled with air and becomes very big. There's nothing to do in the arms. So the arms are shown, the child shows the arms, but there are no fingers. No work is being done with the hand. The most important part of the arm is the fingers and the palm. This one.
This is where the connect is, right?
Yeah, this is the one which is doing everything. As I told you before, the Steiner said this. If you taught the children to do namaskar, he will become capable of blessing.
Wow.
If this has not been learned at a young age, there's no meaning in blessing. He can't release his hands and fingers this way and bless. He will always be physical. And then we wonder why society is so aggressive.
Thought about giving also comes in.
Yeah.
So when you do something like this, then entire thought process change.
Yeah. Even this giving or doing something for the others, there could be children with different calibers. Right. So if it's maths class going on, for example, that's the easy one. And one child has finished all the 10 sums that the teacher has given. Now what does the child do? Okay, the teacher will go find who needs help. So the child goes around and sees that this one is still on the second sum. Right? So that's also a kind of, we are not teaching that you have to give. What do they say? Sharing is caring and all that. Sikhate nahi hai. But when the child is made to do this, that already and they're doing it from grade 1 upwards. So it gets into them.
So there is creative freedom for a child to do things.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to the higher classes, now how do you all? What I've seen I've seen the kids like very intellectual and intelligent also in your school specifically. How do they manage and cope up? Because there is rest of the schools go likho, pado. But here, I think somewhere it automatically gets ingrained in them and it becomes easier for them to study. Is that so?
Yeah. See, we have a block system where for 3 weeks they have the same lesson, same subject for 2 hours. So right from grade 1, whatever is taught gets into their being.
Yeah.
So as they grow, again I'm telling, unless the parents interfere and put the pressure and the tension in them, the subject goes into them. We say total immersion method.
Okay.
So when they're totally immersed in a subject for 3 weeks, so they get it. Now what we have to teach them in the grade 9, grade 8, 9 and all, how do you write an exam? How do you finish 5 questions in 2 hours?
Okay.
That's what we have to teach them.
Wow, that is so beautiful. I mean, what you're saying, nobody else thinks about it because each child won't have the capability to write for 2 hours. Yeah. Continue, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what, the subject has gone into them. So that is not the issue.
Okay.
The thing is that we have not given them that time-bound writing, which comes grade 8, grade 9, they start doing that.
Wow. So they almost have imbibed through the classes and when it comes to probably put it on paper, it's easier for them. Is that so?
Yeah. Like that example of grade 8 children from our first school, they went to another school because of some reason. And on the first day of the exam, first day of the week, they had tests. That was the culture of that school. Every Monday they'll have a test. And these children had the test in history, grade 8 now. And what history? It was some Roman history. And in Inodai, in Waldorf schools, we do Roman history in grade 6. After that, we don't do it. It's done in grade 6.
Achha.
And then in grade 8, when they went to that school and they wrote the answers and all that, the teacher reads all that and gives them 0 or something, and then they say, why we got 0? So the teacher says that, you have written everything so beautifully, even I didn't know so much, but you need to write the answers from the textbook. So then,
they knew better history. I would
yeah,
say.
they say, give me a photocopy of these answer sheets.
She said that is resource material for
For
me
me.
as a teacher. So I mean, I was surprised to hear this story because at least the teacher recognized that this is a resource material. I can use this to teach Roman history to the other children outside the textbook. She has written very beautifully all that the thing, because she has understood this in 2 years back. Class 6 mein padhai. She's understood. So she says, even if you've written 3 words and 3 sentences from the textbook, I would have given you full mark.
Yeah.
But the system is such that I can't. Somebody will raise a question and say,
it's just a copy-paste method.
Yeah.
Which is there.
And then, our children thought, okay, now what is it that we have to do? You have to learn it by heart. Okay. That because memory training is done from grade 1 itself. When they do things repetitively, when there is so much of there is body percussions that they do and all. So automatically the memory is trained. So then when they appeared for their first term exams, they did well because only they had to use their memory.
This term that she used just now is actually misplaced. It's not the right thing to say. Learn something by heart.
By heart.
What we are doing for the child is to learn by heart, through the heart. What the other mainstream school brings is only through the head. Only memory.
The heart is not used.
Yeah, heart is not used. The feeling realm doesn't come into the picture. The heart and the brain are very closely connected, and that connection has not been very well established. China talked about this for ages. Only recently have they started neurologically. How are these two things connected? Even physiologically, what is the function of the heart? I mean, iske bare mein baat karenge, again, it's the topic of
it's another day.
Yeah.
Because this is all connected with the education. How does the human being become human? It's a basic question. In fact, when you coming to that, you didn't ask the question, but still I'm saying, we have this, call it a maxim or a motto for the Waldorf schools all over the world. Every Waldorf school uses this as something that they have to follow. China has given these 3 phrases. He says, receive the child in reverence. Receive the child in reverence. So when he says, when the school receives children, they are in kindergarten. They are 5 years old, 4 years old.
Right.
So what does he mean by saying that receive such a young child in reverence? So we thought about. Then he says the next stage is educate him in love. Okay. Educate him in love, not with love.
From the
difference. Heart. You teach with love in your heart, like she mentioned, love, more love, even more love. But the other thing is to create interest in learning. Love the learning. As a teacher, you have to develop in the child a love for learning. A love for learning is lifelong. You never stop learning if you have created love for learning. That is the second step. This is the primary school motto from class 1 to 7. Let's say. The last one is set him forth in freedom.
Okay.
After all these things, set him forth in freedom, the real freedom in thinking, the way that he can think, the way he can appreciate the cause and the effect is his. It is his freedom. You release him in freedom. You don't dictate. You show him things, and then what he does, the child has to take responsibility for his own actions, knowing fully well where it is going to lead. That is true freedom. His thinking has to be free, not being dogmatic because the school said this or school said that, or this is how the community is, this is how the religion says, and all those things. It's totally different. You create the capacity in the child to be able to decide for himself what is good for him. Out of all the capacities which he has developed till the time of puberty and beyond into his teenagehood. So by the time he leaves school, according to Steiner's schooling is till 21.
Right.
Not just कि 12वीं में पास हो फिर चले गए 18 साल के बच्चे are free. No, 21 तक they are still in this gesture of receiving. After that, then they start using the hand. What capacity do has being developed in those 21 years is very important. 3 7 years as we call it. 3 phases of 7 years.
Okay.
21 years में जाके वो लोग, the figure 21 is very magical, It is habit forming. You do something as a practice for 21 days, it becomes a habit. This is 21 years. So the child then is ready to step into the world free.
In our culture, 21 is also revered. So
this also, this capacity to use their freedom in I don't know if to call it sensible way or, starts in the lower years only. Between 0 to 7, the parents nowadays, they think that we are very democratic and all. So they'll ask the child, kya pehnoge, what will you wear, what will you eat, So there you have to lay down boundaries. There you don't have to give them freedom. In the lower years, if you don't give them freedom, then you say, okay, now you have to do this and this and this. They learn to have boundaries for whatever they do later on in their freedom. Later on they are free to do what they like. Yeah. But then they know that, okay, there is a way in which I can use my freedom in a more positive manner or constructive manner. Freedom does not mean man ki marzi karo, I'll do whatever I like and all that. So if many people make this mistake kind of asking a small child, what will you eat, what will you do, and giving the child freedom, thinking that is being democratic. And when this child becomes a teenager, then you start putting restrictions. What time are you coming? Where are you going? Why are you wearing this? That time the child needs freedom to decide what they want to do. But that capacity to use that freedom has to be built when they are between that 0 to 7 or in the lower years, 0 to 9, you can say. That is the whole thing. That is very important.
So, as a school, I see is a thought and it has to go bigger. Can you give me some success stories and transformations which has happened in the school? Any small example which you can? It's almost how many years now?
Now 14th year.
14th year.
It's the 14th year.
So probably 3 batches of the 10th grade has happened, right?
Yeah. So, it's transformative. We can talk in different senses.
Definitely.
Like about high school, Shashadri will tell, but there was this child in grade 1. He was in our kindergarten also, who did not know where he is. He did not know where his hands would go, and he would be hitting and throwing things and all that. But because of this approach that we have, he's reached grade 5 now. And there is a great transformation in his personality that has happened. We have not scolded or, given him any punishment for what he's done. He'll just come and throw things away like this, on the other tables. That was he when he was in grade 1. Slowly, now at this age, he's become so calm. That is one kind of transformation that we can talk about.
And it happens with quite a few of the children.
Yeah.
Because they're well balanced.
Yeah. And it is not in 1 year that it will happen. The whole year the teacher struggles. 2 years the teacher struggles. But then, like that love that is passed on, or, the care that the teacher has, the approach that the teacher has, does something at the soul level for the child.
I totally agree with you. 100% agree with you because,
Yeah, and children like people who are from the grade 8.
Just 4 days back, the first batch of children who passed out in 21. 2020 में ही pass out हो जाते, but 2020 we all know what happened.
Yes.
So the exams got postponed. 21 में they left the school. मतलब they passed out in a technical way. Otherwise 20 में खत्म हो गया उनका education. These children 4 साल के बाद भी they still come to school to us. फोन करेगा बच्चा, बोलेगा sir, I was just passing by, can I visit you? Can I come and talk to you? They come. अरे सर आपके स्कूल के नीचे तो ये कैफे नट कैफे why don't we have a coffee together? Okay, so and then when they come, they are in colleges now, and they have stories, and they start saying, when we were in school we didn't appreciate this fact, we didn't appreciate what was happening, we didn't appreciate why this particular teacher हमने कितने उनको हमने गाली दी है, तंग किया उन्होंने हमको, प्रिपेयर नहीं करने एग्जाम के लिए, he is on the spiral of learning spiral में है, whereas we wanted to know how do we crack this exam, we cracked it anyway. उस टाइम पे टेंशन था, उसको उन्होंने एड्रेस नहीं किया, but then we've done this. But now I realize during the college days how much he has put in as a learning which is simply blossomed. At that time I didn't know this. Now I know how confident I have become. And sometimes I wonder, मेरे जो colleagues हैं उनको देखता हूँ, so I wonder, यार, this is a small thing, why are these people so flustered about it? Why is it that they can't say, I will try it and I'll succeed in this, I know I can do this? That thought doesn't come. They're keeping on looking around to see, who can help me? No, I can't do this, I will drop this, I will go into a different line. So there's lots of sanguinity in children, in the youth of today. If you see, there's no focus on one thing.
Right.
So for a few days you'll be here, suddenly you'll find to be, aaj kya kar raha hai? No, I've left that thing and now I'm doing this job. Oh, I left it in this. And taking decisions, like one of these children, after completing 12 years of education, after doing an IB diploma, IBDP karne ke baad, she just goes home and announces to her parents, to her mother, that I'm not going to do any further education. I am very keen about photography, so I'm joining this particular person and I'm going to become part of his wedding planning and wedding photography. Celebrity wedding photography. I don't know the person's name. He's supposed to be very famous. He was even part of this Ambani wedding and all that. So she goes there and within 6 months...
Dabbu Ratnani.
Yeah, some such name. So she has reached almost the top echelons of that organization. Young girl, abhi pass out
19.
She's just 19. And she's discovered various other aspects of her own personality and she becomes aware of it. The beautiful thing about this whole thing is, I won't call it egotistical thing, but you realize your capacity as an individual. I can do this. I have done that, because of which this has also come up to show me that I can do this too, I can do that too. And starting from just being a photographer, okay, and somebody else is giving instructions, isko cover karo, wo event ko cover karo, ab ye hone wala hai. Somebody has a list of things which are going to happen. So all these photographers in that, say Ambani wedding, there are hundreds of them. You cover this, you cover that, karke some instruction milta hai. It's very easy to just simply follow those instructions and sit there quietly and doing nothing else. But she didn't stop there. She realized, this could be done better this way, or that could be done better that way. Fortunately, then she also knows how to convey it to her boss, so that he listens and says, okay, you do this also. Chalo ye 4 logon ko tum apne group mein le lo and do what you want to do. Wo bhi ek, that's the environment which provides. Yes. Like they say, right? The universe conspires. If you are strong in your conviction,
it conspires to help
happens. Yeah. So she's very strong in her convictions and it happens. And now suddenly she's gone into splicing, editing, all the other things post an event. She's doing that and she's very happily doing it. I told her, listen, don't get drowned in this. You still have an education to complete. So that kind of nasihat, just to receive it, they come back.
Yeah.
So they, in a way, I would say they hold their experience in the school at a very high level of esteem. And for us, it's very
And also,
warming.
And also, you know what I have seen they become more like problem solvers.
Yes.
The parents come and share. That's how I know. Like one parent was saying the child was in the kindergarten and in the vacation, some pottery class or something, she had taken this 5-year-old. And then there was a long queue. There was one potter, and every child was bothering the parent. What now? When will I do? And all. So this girl was standing and just observing and looking. 5-year-old child, and then they would make the pot or whatever thing they would make, and they would tell the parent, "How do I carry this? It is so wet and this and that." So she's saying, "I also got worried. How do I help her and all?" So when this girl's chance came, she held it in the hand. She looked around. She saw one dried leaf. She put the dried leaf on, put it on the dried leaf, and she said, "Mama, come, let's go." So she solved her own problem. This is a 5-year-old. So this thing that they are experiencing, like the capacities that are being built, they help them to do this. Like, they will always say there are more solutions to a problem. That is what is very amazing. For we see that in our children who have gone through and now they're in their 20s. But these young children also, the parents come and share how they did. And it's an excitement, no, when your child solves a problem.
Yeah, of course.
So that's something very unique in a Waldorf school. And abroad, they prefer Waldorf children in the universities also.
Really?
They give more preference to Waldorf school. Like one child from our school, the father was based in Dubai, so he took the family after 1 year. He used to come every now and then. So there was some school where the admission had to be taken, and the father told the principal there that my child is in a Waldorf school. Oh, Waldorf school? Then no need of interview. Just fill the form and get the admission. So that is the stand.
I look forward to this happening in our country.
Yeah. We are
And
also.
I advocate this kind of education any day. I mean, I love the way it is done, the entire feel to it. But there are multiple misconceptions about alternative education and how it can be resolved. What do you all feel about it?
See, the one major thing, which people have to actually get into their heart and mind very clearly is, we do not prepare the children for the rat race. The one misconception is कि इस तरह से आप इतने gently आप बात कर रहे हो, you're doing all those things. How will the child be competitive? You don't have any competitions. You don't have exams. You don't have exams till class 8. Even in class 8, we don't have exams. We call them quizzes or tests. Okay, and whatever we give them as marks. Because we literally speaking, we are preparing them to kind of jump around with the other rats later, not to become a rat. So, I mean, this is one of the things which is very now a cliched phrase, you know, at the end of the race, of the rat race, you still are a rat.
The first rat.
We don't want rats. We want human beings. Right? So, competition missing. So, parents, if they have left the school and gone away, have taken the children away because in their heart, they feel that the child is not competitive. In the usual definition of the word competition. What is this competition based on? How many marks did you get? Did you get an A star? Did you get 93%? Does it make any sense that somebody is got 93.75 and somebody else has got 93 and that boy or girl is chosen for a course or something and this one is not? Doesn't make any sense. To me, it is completely senseless to be based on these kind of standardized testing methods. You know, long back I'd seen something where a group of animals are standing there and there's one bureaucrat saying that whoever is able to climb the tree is going to be rescued from this island.
And there's a fish also.
Only the squirrel and the monkeys are jumping around, but the elephant and the fish is wondering what the hell do I do. It's standard testing. So that is one of the biggest misconceptions, and the parents' push is so real in that, and the tensions of the parent. You know, you never realize as a parent how much the child feels guilty for not living up to your tension, and they don't have the capacity to really know what is to be done with this. So they succumb. But fortunately, in a Waldorf school, even if the child succumbs to that tension, the capacities are already there. So even if, as he mentioned the story of this history teaching, they go into another setup, very quickly they can pick up the methods of the outside world and can become competitive, like this girl about whom I spoke about now. Even though that girl has not spent the entire life in Waldorf education. She spent only 5 years, the last 5 years.
They can assimilate so quickly.
Quickly. So competition में कभी भी हम this entire misconception that you are at this level and you have to go to this level. Sorry. We are at this level. We come down. It's not this parity is wrong. This image of parity this way. The outside world is at a higher level and they have to really strive to reach it is incorrect. That's not so. It's actually the opposite.
And competition also, you know, like the external push for competition has the pressure. But what we have seen in the classrooms, what happens is that competition is innate. So when some work is given, suppose maths is again an easy example. The child has done so many, one child is on the second sum and he looks into the other child's, he's done 5 sums. Tomorrow I will also do. So that competition comes from within, which is very healthy. And like though our children have never gone into competitions, official competitions as such, in grade 8, this German teacher took them for a spell bee competition. German spell. The first year, the grade now which is in 9, they came second. Then the next year, the children came first. In among all the schools which are teaching German in Mumbai. So we just have this, what do you call it, hawa of competition. And then when parents tell me, competition, what do you do in a competition? Do you know what the other person's capacity is? You only do your best.
Yes.
So you only empower yourself, and that you can do without thinking of a competition. You have to go into a competition, but then how do you know the other person's capacities? So you have to build up your capacity. Like this little child looking at it, tomorrow even I will do 5 cents. So that thing has to be developed, and that thing is what the people need to understand. The competition is within, and the children will do. And like we have seen in high school, they want to be challenged.
Achha.
Yeah. The teacher can't simply take a textbook and teach and it's over. No. They will question the teacher also.
And that's allowed.
Yeah, that's allowed.
Conversational thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm coming to the competition. ऐसा भी नहीं है कि भाई competition से परे रखते हैं and we are not telling them anything about it. Class 5 में, class 5,
that's
which
the
means
beginning.
10-year-olds who have gone into or who become 11 years. Again, it's the threshold of puberty. Class 5. We have Olympics, traditional Olympics. Every Waldorf school all over the world has this traditional Olympics. So Olympics there is competition, but it is not I competing with Bindu. It is I competing within myself. Within myself, what is my capacity? Am I strong? Yeah. So all the games which are there, running races, long jumps and this and that, multiple opportunities are there. So this time I jumped that much, next time I'm going to jump farther. I am going to jump farther than what I did last time. So it is competing within yourself. How can I do something better next time?
The physical capabilities are
yes,
developed.
Yeah. And similarly, physical capacity, say mental capacity also, because this is the right age to be thinking in terms of what, okay, like she said, okay, now I've done 2 sums, this one has done 5 sums. Usme say you inspire yourself, I'm going to do better tomorrow. Because I know that this classmate of mine who's in the same class with the same teacher has done that, I will be doing it better myself. I can reach that thing. It's like a benchmark.
So many wonderful things. I mean, you all have Sanskrit also.
Yeah.
Yes.
German also is a part of the subjects which are there. You all take them to field trips on the farm and do all this.
Yeah. And all that is based on the consciousness of the child.
Yeah.
Why farming only in class 9? Class 9, year 9, or when they are in class 3. There is a purpose towards that. They have reached a stage where now they are crossing a certain threshold, like crossing the Rubicon. The childhood is going away, and the future, you don't know what is there in the future. So then they start looking around. And then soil is one of the things that they need to work with. And that gives them another kind of nourishment. And then, generally this class 3, where 8 or 9-year-old, they'll ask the parents, are you my father? Are you my mother? Or they may say, how was I born? And the parents then say, kya ulte-sulte sawal puchte, ja bahar jaake khel laga, But it is a Waldorf curriculum that caters to the inner needs of the child at every stage. So why farming? They go, of course, we start with creation stories and all that, which is long, long ago, some mythology. Then they go to farming and they put some seeds, and then they go and see. I think now they'll go, in some days they'll go and they'll see how tall it has become. Then they'll go and harvest. So they know that something is sown and something is taking birth. Okay, now that I didn't do much, I just put the seeds. Then we also have house building. Now in Mumbai, we don't have a school where each class can make a house. So we do it in the class. Every child will do it, or a group of 4 children together will do it. So they'll build houses. So I can also create something with my hands. That is another concept. Of course, they have also clothing where they do tie and dye, and they also do charkha. It comes only.
Roti, kapda, makan.
Yes, class 3 is that.
Farming, roti, kapda, and then makan, building.
So the children realize that, we can create something. So the history goes in this manner, that in after class 12, they have to be prepared, or they have to be ready to see what they can create now in future.
You are making leaders out of children.
Yeah.
At least the quality of thinking like a leader.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
And that's needed. And today's Bharat, India, which is very much needed. How do you all incorporate technology into your curriculum? Because there's no way to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to get out of it. But then one of the strongest things that is carried to children, it's only after class 8 or so.
Okay.
अभी आज के ज़माने में तो of course whether you have it as part of the school curriculum or the school teachers or not, children are already very much aware of technology. The gadgets have become more and more invasive in life.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we have to really bring in front of the children is, you are a human being. Don't become slave to technology. Technology is a creation of this wonderful way that the human being and the human brain can think. The technology has to be a tool. It always has to be a tool which will help you do something. And then it's my personal take on these things. When I talk about these things to the children, they are receptive. Yes. Sometimes I can go into a very strong philosophical angle by saying that, look, there's a story about the iPhone which I won't repeat right now. Why did Steve Jobs call his phone the iPhone?
Okay. You can tell us.
Very interesting story. When he created that iPhone, and he also had a very strong influence of Indian spirituality. He spent a whole year in India. Yes, became part of a group in Guruji in North. So
Neem Karoli Baba.
Yes.
So he had a strong listening, of course, and then he went back with so much clarity about what he's thinking, but still he created this iPhone. Right. So what I say is that iPhone, why he named it iPhone was, at the moment, it is a phone which has taken away your eye. The phone says ting, and then you leave everything and see what is going on. Ting, and then you have to answer it. You have to, middle of a meeting, there will be something going on. जैसे अभी हम लोग यहाँ बात कर रहे हैं, and my phone flashes out there. Even if I keep it silent, whatever it is, कुछ flash हो गए तो मैं उतावला हो जाता हूँ. अरे something is happening.
Created anxiety.
Then I might suddenly get up and say, please, 1 minute, important call. कुछ नहीं होगा. Wife is asking कि रात को क्या खाओगे? But I am a slave of the phone. Where I sit and decide, no, I am not going to answer the phone. It's my ego that has gone away into the phone. Yeah. So the phone has appropriated my eye into itself. Therefore, he called it iPhone. मैं बच्चों को ये बोलता हूँ, don't become slaves of it. You are wasting your time, and everything which is happening through the phone, through these gadgets, is addictive.
Okay.
And addiction is your eye being taken away. Something else is dictating your behavior, your actions. So be aware of it.
There's no way to but avoid it. So you're not incorporating it.
So as a school, we might, for example, class 8, 9, 10, when we use mathematics, when we teach involved subjects like trigonometry and all those things, today's age, you cannot be inventing wheels. Wheels have been invented. Use them. So the technology is invented. Use it. Use it as a useful thing, not as a time pass, as something that. ये मेरा क्वेश्चन भी रहता है. I ask them, so much of technology is developed, it has relieved you of mundane jobs. That's how technology started, right?
Right.
You are relieved of mundane jobs. You don't want to walk, so you invent a vehicle. You want to go somewhere fast. Why you want to go there somewhere fast? That concept is gone. Pehle you need to reach something very fast. Okay, like Roman times, somebody had to go and tell the king and the emperor that I need more troops to come here, otherwise we'll lose this war with the Persians. And somebody had to run. The marathon का वो पूरा basis वही है.
अच्छा.
There was one guy who would run marathon. 44 kilometers he had to run and pass the message. And then you discover things where you can go faster. Then you discover that you can tame a horse and it will carry you 3 times the speed, because you can think how to tame that animal. ऐसे technology develop हुआ है. But you have free time. What do you do with the free time? The basic purpose of human existence is, with your free time, you look at the cosmos and you wonder, what is this history about? Only the human being is capable of doing that. So, aap tools karke, let it do its job. You turn your attention to the spirituality. Are we doing it? No. With that free time, we are creating more technology. Artificial intelligence. These are things which, of course, as you say, cannot be done away with. But is it being used
appropriate
for the benefit of all living beings, not just humanity? Are we using it? Are we able to do anything with climate change? Can you use technology for something else? Of course, there is technology still being used to study how the earth is. अभी हमको बहुत सारा negative information मिल रहा है which we had no access to before.
Right.
We are getting it because we have developed the tools which tell you this is happening, that's happening, that's happening.
Right.
But with that information, what are you doing? Can you create a technology which will address these things? Can you stop the ice flows of the Antarctic or the Arctic from melting? You know, I heard the story just recently that one polar bear sitting on an ice floe goes into Iceland. That's not that's not where you find polar bears. Okay, and there is this old lady staying alone in a building, in a bungalow there, and she finds the polar bear there. She calls up the authorities. They come with guns and shoot it. Dead. That's the first response. What is the use of technology if you can't preserve anything? It's an endangered species. One polar bear. You can't handle it with all your technology. You have to shoot it. And the government says what we do, we have to save the old woman. Old woman. I mean, this is where this orientation towards technology has to be reoriented so that you make it useful to address what is happening in the world in a better way. So all the other things, yes, we use the computers. सिखाते नहीं है. Okay, but we teach them how to use it in the classroom for certain things. They learn anyway outside. And they have the capacity to learn it all by themselves. Self-study is a very, very strong aspect in the school itself from class 9 upwards. A lot of things have to be learned on your own. It's not necessary to teach the children how to use MS Word or Excel or this and that and that and that. Even robotics for that matter. Children who passed out are now learning, and जो बच्चे 3 साल 5 साल बाहर के सीखते हैं वो 5 महीने में सीख जाता है, because they have that thing and they have the orientation. That is, I think, more important than actually learning technology as such. जैसे Americans कर रहे हैं ना, they import all the minions, those manual labor करने वाले सब Indians जाके बैठ जाते हैं वहाँ पे, and they are only ideating. Ideate को वो क्यों करें? हम करेंगे ideate.
Yes, zaruri hai.
And we'll employ the Americans to do all the manual stuff.
And we look forward to it. We seriously look forward to it because that's how the country should. And you all are doing the right thing because I think the thought process has to change, and Waldorf education, Inodai on it has to get bigger. I would like pray for this. It has to get bigger, wider. You all are being the pioneers in this. How does the parents and the border community help in spreading this knowledge across to bring in more people to think this way?
See, the school has grown with word of mouth.
Exactly.
We started with 3 children, and we had a board outside, and seeing that people have come, and then people just come in, and like somebody was telling that his friend asked him, where does your child go and what do they do, and वो खाता पीता है मजा करके आ जाता है. So then we thought this is not the right thing to say about Waldorf. So we have a course. We started an institute which is called Center for Steiner Education and Teacher Training, and many parents come there for training. We have 2 batches, and that is one of the steps where the parents can be made. So I tell the parents, you need to contribute to the school. How will you contribute? Do this course.
Okay.
Engage yourself more into where have you put your child? Not because there is no homework, not because there's the project that you don't have to do a project work or something, the children will do everything. Those are not the reasons for coming to a Waldorf school. Idea of a Waldorf school, you all do the course. So we have 2 batches where you can choose which one to do and all that. That is one. And then we have many talks that happen 4th Saturday of every month. And please attend those. That's what we keep telling the parents when they come for their orientations. And then once they are in, we have the class representatives of every class. And then those class representatives come together and work out something. This was done before, with COVID it had stopped, that somebody from the parents will take the initiative, and more parents will join the group, and they'll do community work, like, bringing we talk about it as an Inodai parents community. Yeah. And now they are going to have Garba. They are organizing a Garba on the 5th of October. Previously, one parent initiated IPL. What is IPL? Inodai Parents League.
Oh, lovely.
And they play, and till today they're playing. The fathers come to play, then there's some group said no, the mothers should also play, and then some said the children should also play. So they have already doing that. So this is one way. And then we have a mela where the parents are fully involved in doing things, putting up the mela. We just say mela hai, and then they come. They come with ideas.
One thing I can say in this is that in spite of all these things, the initiatives that we have taken, parents, some clutches and groups of parents have come up and suggested things. It is a steep challenge, climbing, to have the parents think in the right way, especially when the children start going into classes 6 and 7.
You get worried.
The bug of mainstream bites them hard. So even now, admission process mein hi hum log, in spite of us asking, what are your reasons for coming into the school? Don't come in because you've heard that ki homework nahi milta hai. Uske wajah se mat aao. Everybody knows कि दूसरे schools में homework अगर घर पे जाता है, the work is done by the parent there rather than the child. Projects करके घर पे जाता है तो सब इधर-उधर की सामग्री खरीदनी पड़ती है, उसको जोड़ना पड़ता है, उसके हाथ में पकड़ाना पड़ता है. And parents are doing it. They don't want to do it because we don't do this that way at all. Any project is to be done in the school. So that cannot be the reason why you come for an alternative education. You must have the right reason. That unfortunately today's parents are so busy with whatever they are doing. Whatever they are doing, they think that they are doing good for the child, but somewhere midway they lose their way. And it's a really a challenging task to keep this community together in spite of all these activities. Some of them are there, many of them are not. So we do have, within 2 to 3 years, we have questions which we sometimes are very surprised. How is this that this kind of questions are coming up? Wo hai. We are still working on it. It's work in process.
Yeah, that's what I tell Seshadri very often. That our children are had tension. Why these children are having tension? So he says because their parents did not have tension. These children's parents are having tension. And I spoke to this one girl in class 10 last year, and she was sitting like this in front of the office. So what happened? She's saying a lot of tension. Now what tension? You have studied for so many years. Saying not mine, my mother. She said I study till 4 o'clock in the morning, and at 8 o'clock, and I sleep at 4. And the mother's at 8 o'clock, she's saying, you're not studying, get up, you're still sleeping. So the parents don't even know what the children are doing. And then they have anxiety, and they put that anxiety on it. That is the problem. So that's one thing. But then we always say we are striving. The striving to build a community, striving to get people together, striving to make people understand. But often it's very disappointing that you organize a talk or you organize a workshop, and there are yesterday there were hardly 30 people out of 360. People are very busy even on a Saturday.
So we do feel the pangs of disappointment, but then we're not giving up.
Yeah.
हम सोचते हैं फिर बाद में 30 तो आए.
30 तो आए.
मीटिंग के लिए.
So
ब्लॉक रिव्यू मीटिंग, स्कूल में टीचर्स बात करना चाहते हैं आपके बच्चे के बारे में, क्या पढ़ाई करी है वो. And then there are other parents who go to the other extreme of doing things which are not supposed to do, making the child really get into this competitive thing कि भाई कोई ये भी नहीं आता, वो भी नहीं आता. I am an expert in maths, so I will teach you how this is to be done. Running in front of the class. That's a disruption in the class. The child comes and says something else. It's completely confusing for the child. We have to keep telling them, नहीं मत करो. वो कहते हैं फिर ये कब सीखेगा? हम बता रहे हैं ना आपको. Then you listen to us. You come and talk to us. So these are some of the challenges which constantly keep coming up.
We as beings here, we have to unlearn. I feel as parents, we need to unlearn first. To open up to an avenue like this, which will, I think it's the future of education. This is the future of education. What you are doing is amazing. So, any last words, ma'am, sir, which you would say and tell the people that this is the future of education? It's not that, don't be in the rat race, because we are creating, and I'm feeling sitting here right now, we are creating beings of a different kind. And we are breaking those molds which were there earlier and creating a country which has stronger people who can think on their own, act on their and action it also.
What the parents need to understand is that Waldorf education caters to the inner needs of the child.
Mm.
Like if the one person is asking a kindergarten child, what is the difference between wild animals and domestic animals? And the child is looking at the face. Does a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old needs to know whether what is a wild animal? But when they come to class 4, when they have started looking into the world after grade 3, we have a topic, man and animal.
Mm.
Animals cannot exist beyond separate. So what is the connection between man and animal? Because this connect is not there yesterday. Day before we saw the dog being hit by a car and nobody bothered and all that. So, but our children will go and do something about it, you know. And so parents need to understand, everybody needs to understand that this education, Waldorf education, is a transformative education, that whatever the child is carrying, that has to fructify. And the curriculum addresses those needs over a period of time. Like in class 7, we have that love and life.
Okay.
They want to know about all the, now they're getting into teenagers, so they want to know about the physicality and all that. That is addressed.
Beyond all these things, what the curriculum already provides and which we are bringing into the school anyway, is that the community, as I said, has to be part of it.
Yeah.
You can't do anything inside a cloister. Animal is this pearl which forms. So we are forming the pearl, all right. But the community has to involve itself. And then expanding into society itself. There has to be an appreciation of this happening. And the government has to get involved. We are still working in a very, very bureaucratic, Macaulayan type of...
Use the word.
Yeah. So that is very, very, sometimes can be very disenchanting and discouraging. That what are we doing? What are we fighting against all the time? You know, now things are changing. But then the policy makers' mindset is set in concrete. That has to somehow get dismantled. In fact, to me, हम लोग कभी-कभी एक बात करते हैं, this is the generation that we are creating. Those are the ones, when they become policy makers, they will see the light of the day.
Exactly.
So that is the hope that we are carrying with ourselves. That is what actually sustains us. See, there is a light at the end of this tunnel. We are in a tunnel. We can't become like moles and rats under the ground. Be happy with the life inside the tunnel. We are not made to be, again and again I'm saying this. We are not animals, we are human beings. We have to strive towards this light. That is the thing that all the children who are going through this education will carry. Even if it is now just a chingari, the whole thing is going to go into a configuration when this keeps passing through generations, and somebody or the other will definitely be there holding up this torch for others to follow.
And also, you know, it is, Waldorf education system is not for education. It's a way of life.
Yes.
If people can take it to that level, then the Waldorf effect can be seen.
You all have started the spark. This is going to build, probably it's a generation or two which will bring this on. Thank you so much for doing what you all are doing. It's an inspiration. You're creating love, laughter, joy, and powerful beings. Thank you so much for being on the show.
And we hope so much, Kamlesh, for giving an opportunity like this. This is ये समय का तकाजा है. This has to go very deep into society. People have to think differently.
Yes, they have to. They have to change the way of thinking from each individual, and this is going to happen.
Yeah.
We are powerful beings here.
That is our hope.
Yes.
And we are dreamers, you know. So we dreamt about this, and further, it's a dream that needs to be fulfilled with the help of the community. That's the whole thing.
All what I'll say is, you're going to create a renaissance. It's just a matter of time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Most welcome.
Thank you.